Yo, what's up, guys? How's it going? I hope you're ready. I hope you're psyched for the great community debate. We're here with another Group Up podcast. And once more, I brought some awesome people along to try and make this as fun and as exciting as possible. So, without further ado, let me introduce everyone from bottom right. First up, my man Stylosa. I got more Brits here for once than Americans. So, what up,
Hey,
Stylosa?
how you doing?
Very, very good. In the top right from your POV is Fareeha. Fareeha, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome, awesome. Loving the keyboard in the background as well and all the music that you've been putting out.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
In the top left, we got Skiesti, who is kind of the brainchild of this debate. So shout out Skiesti.
Hi, thanks for being here, I guess.
Awesome. And last but not least, again, another Brit. I bookended it with Brits. Is Unsalted Salt. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, delighted to have you guys all here. I'm sure chat is all very excited. Most of you guys are probably from Unsalted Salt's chat, thanks to the raid. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the discussion. This podcast is going to be mostly on the community, kind of things that we think about the Overwatch community, systems, player behavior, how we think it could be improved and things like that. But I think important, first of all, to set up some context. And that context would be, guys, how do you think the Overwatch community compares to other games that you've played in or witnessed from the outside looking in? And to start things off, I want to take it to my man Stylosa, because I think, Sty, you've been kind of like one of the OG content creators of Overwatch. You've seen it grow, you've seen the community take shape, and you've seen other games come and go. So how do you feel about this?
I think so. The main difference is I became I suppose I became a community figure in Overwatch. Every other game that I've played, I haven't had that level of exposure. Like for a start, I wasn't really making any content, but for Overwatch, I was. So things are a little bit different, I think, from like my perspective. Things can be different just because they see Stylosa in the game. Which, by the way, you don't see Stylosa in the game because all of my accounts, I don't even have an account called Stylosa, and there's quite a few reasons for that.
Smart move.
So you guys, well, you guys will definitely get this being streamers, but like you, so there's two ways you get this. There's the A or the B way, right? And the A way will be, hey, that's Sty. I'm going to really try. Now they might be on the enemy team, and this is bad news. If they're on your team, that's good news. But generally, it's the B option, and it's I'm going to be on YouTube, I'm going to be on whatever, and then they mess the game up, and it is really frustrating. Like honestly, super frustrating. I do think though that I've been quite lucky. Like I haven't had to deal with any kind of no abuse or anything thrown my way in that regard, but definitely just because it's Stylosa, people just take the piss basically, which is really frustrating. So I've probably funded Overwatch 2 development with name changes on probably it's a pain in the arse.
But how do you feel about the community more generally? Sorry, go ahead.
When I start talking as well, because this is really bad for me. So what I started to do was change the name of my accounts to, you know, like random names like Steak Bake. Everyone loves a steak bake from Greg's, right? All the Brits know.
True.
Yeah.
But people would soon, like, you know, a few videos on YouTube, everybody knows, oh, all right, that's Stylosa. So if they see me in a game, they come after me. So then I started using the generic names. You know, when you rename your account, it'll be like Hidden Pants or whatever. And there's millions of those accounts. So you can hide. You can't, because as soon as you start speaking, is that who I think it is? So I even had a voice modulator for a while, but then I was like, this is ludicrous. Like, what am I actually doing here? Like, I'm modulating my voice. I'm changing my name. What the hell? Man.
Yeah, actually, I'll take this over to Fareeha, because Fareeha, you seem to kind of be nodding along a lot and feeling that on a spiritual level.
Oh god, yeah. I've tried the voice changer thing. It's so hard because you're like switching it off for chat and then you're like putting it back on, and then like I sound like Kefri if I if I put on my voice changer. It's yeah, It's like it's not good either way. And so I don't know. I try not to talk, but then it's just like I want to talk, so it makes it real hard. And yeah, no, I totally get what you mean when someone comes on and they say like, "Hey, like it's this person. I'm gonna like just throw flour everywhere and we're gonna make a big commotion." It's the tension. Yeah, and I don't
guess
know.
like
I feel like
sorry, but like for you guys, like you're streaming the game. I'm not streaming the game. So
oh yeah.
where's the streamer protection, Blizz? What are you doing? You know what I mean? There's all these.
Non-existent.
Yeah, all you
Yeah,
guys
that's
straight
so
away are like,
bad.
what the hell's going on? Like, well, why isn't that in the game?
Some kind of name changing, some kind of like a queue scrambler, like that would be so helpful. But I don't know. I've been a lot more active on the quick play side of Overwatch lately, and I've taken a step back from comp, and things have gotten way better. But and it kind of reminds me of how Apex's environment and community are, where they're just more laid back and more friendly, because somehow overall they're more accepting of pubs, right? They're more accepting of the more casual side of things, and they're not like, it's all or nothing. You play comp, or I'm not watching, or like you're not good in my eyes, and it just baffles me, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of gets to the crux of what I wanted with this question as well, because we will definitely talk about streamer modes, streamer protection, things like that. But I'm curious to hear your guys' general opinion on the community as a whole, not just as content creators who experience the community in your games, but your perception of the community. So, Unsalted Salt, I'm gonna throw this over to you, man, because Fareeha talked about, maybe Apex is a bit more accepting of like a more casual general player. You're quite the hardcore competitive grinder. How do you feel about what we've been talking about?
Overwatch community is trash. It is the worst community I've ever been a part of, and that's like not even a overstatement because I'll give you an example. I was probably a 30 viewer streamer at the time. I would have racist comments back like all the time, but I would never do anything. I would never say anything, and like I brush it off because it's just like whatever, you know. But then like on Twitter, there's actually dedicated like people who are just I don't know, it's weird because if someone makes a hate comment, a lot of people jump on it even though they don't actually hate you. It's like a very sheep like-minded thing. You know, like it's I'll give you an example as well. The football, England, how like that all the horrible stuff that happened. A lot of people that were there that I knew personally that were a part of it, they just said, "Oh yeah, we just tried to push him because everyone else was doing it." Like it's crazy. Like when a lot of people do it, you just go along with it, and like people don't realize how it can affect someone's mental, especially. Yeah, I'd say compared to other games like Call of Duty, Apex, um, Valorant, I think yeah, you have like those idiots, like 12-year-old kids that say stupid shit, but in Overwatch, it's more like 17-year-old kids, 18-year-old kids still doing it. And I don't know, I feel like I don't know what it is with Overwatch. I think it's because it's such a closed community and high elo where everyone always is a little reach away from queuing into each other. I think that's what makes it so volatile at the same time. But yeah, I dislike the Overwatch community a lot most of the time.
So just to fill in any context, because you mentioned the football, and some our North American friends or the non-Europeans might not know that basically there was the Euros, which is a big football tournament, soccer tournament that takes place in Europe, and the UK was hosting it this year, or the finals, and a bunch of fans kind of broke through illegally and got into the stadium. And so that's what Unsalted Salt was referring to in terms of like the mob mentality of how these things happen. Skiesti, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about Overwatch as a community, especially first of all in light of other games maybe that you've been a part of?
So, I have to agree, the Overwatch community is not great, that's for sure, and that's like an understatement. Before Overwatch, I was never really in like any kind of like communities or anything like that. I just kind of like played the game with friends. I was like, whatever, not that big of a deal. Um, but being in the Overwatch community, it's so weird the kind of like the small things that people end up putting a target on your back for. I remember like I've definitely shared some of my experiences on like Twitter or whatever because I'm like, this is like unreal. And I don't know how we, for some reason, feel like it's acceptable to be treated certain ways in this community because people are just so vicious. But then you get comments saying like, oh, you're a snowflake, or oh, this community is worse, or like all this other stuff. And it's not being like a snowflake for wanting to be treated like a decent human being in a community. Like some of these Overwatch players are like they hurl verbal abuse like it's absolutely nothing, or they just treat people like less than human just because they don't like the hero they're playing, or they don't like how they're playing, or they don't like the person for some reason. Well, you don't really know that person. Like, so how could you feel that way, or how do you feel like that's justified in treating someone in such a way? It's just insane, the kind of stuff that like a lot of people on ladder have to deal with, both streamers and just people that play on ladder. It's just it's so ridiculous.
Hmm.
I think like if you look at the game, there's some fundamental design issues with the game. So the one thing I always like to say with Overwatch is it's very easy to throw the game on your own, but it's almost impossible to carry on your own. Now, what this does is it means you focus on whoever is the problem in the game. We all do this, and sometimes we might even be the problem. So if you notice there is somebody who is I don't know, an off-meta one trick, and they shouldn't be playing Symmetra in whatever meta, although they should probably now. But anyway, if they wasn't, then you'd be like, maybe this is the reason why we're losing this game. It might not actually be the reason, but it is in your head. It's the most obvious glaring issue. So what tends to happen is players look at that and they're like, I don't like that. And then they get on the mic and they're like, Oi, Symmetra, get off that hero, change your hero, get on this other hero. That's not meta. And this is a problem with the game. And I guess this is answer to this is let's go 5v5 to reduce the number of players. So it happens less. But I just think honestly, it puts the onus on like you don't look at yourself really. I mean, you should do. If you want to improve at the game, you guys all know this. You look at yourself, you look at your own performance, and you go, "What are the things I could have done here?" Which maybe a VOD reviewing or whatever. Most players don't though. They just go, "This guy's playing Reinhardt, and he shouldn't be. Let's just go at him," and then they just go into the next game. And the problem you guys get is because when you get high elo, you just end up meeting them over and over again, and you don't want them in your game, and they don't want you in the game, and it's crazy. It's like it's like a crucible of it's like a cauldron of just it feeds itself. So I don't know,
Yeah.
like the Overwatch community itself. Like I think the wider community, like the massive Overwatch community, because you've got to remember it's massive, but hardly anyone plays it anymore. So it's absolutely massive, and they love to say, hey, we've got 50 million active users. That probably means they click on it in BattleNet and look at the menu screen and go, oh, I wonder what this skin is for this event. That's cool, and they log off. They're not playing the game actively. You can see that with increasing queue times and all of that stuff. So you've got a massive community, which is a game which is at the end of its lifespan, waiting for its major update with Overwatch 2, its expansion pack, and you're hoping it brings back all the lapsed players, and then you've got an even bigger community there again. So I think the wider community itself is maybe not too bad, but the way, especially competitive, is designed and the way the game's designed, it forces you into and everybody into this. I don't want to say it's if you're looking for blame. I think it just all comes back to the simple thing of you're sort of it's dead easy to throw, but it's very hard to
Mm.
carry on your own. And
Totally agree.
it,
Yeah.
it gets super frustrating at times. Because we've all been there, right? Where you're having like brilliant games, but you're losing time and time again. It's like, what? You know why you lose those games. Maybe it isn't you. Maybe it's that person who was just on your team, and then you queue into them again and again. Okay, you can avoid them, but all of this, it's like you antagonize each other. You know, I just think the game it doesn't really do a very good job at trying to the systems in the game don't really diffuse this type of atmosphere that gets built, and everybody feels stressed out of their mind playing the game as well, which shouldn't be the case. The game, I know I'm going a bit ranty here, but the game shouldn't stop you. You shouldn't think to yourself, "I'm not playing this game anymore," because you don't want to play the game. Like you should come off the game when you just think, "Yeah, I'm tired of this now," sort of thing. Not like, "Oh, I'm not playing this anymore."
Mm.
It's frustrating.
No, I let it all out, Style. Let it all out. No,
Yeah,
I
I know,
think.
but like that doesn't account for like racist, sexist abuse, all of that. None of that should be in the game, and you can go even deeper and start looking at things like why can you type certain things into the chat? Why is
Oh
this not
yeah.
blocked out?
Yeah.
I mean, freedom of speech goes so far, but certain phrases and words you will only use in certain situations. So what is going on?
I watched this documentary, not documentary, this talk by a game designer who works on a bunch of really social games where the goal is to get a lot of strangers and take them from that point of being total strangers and guide them through the processes of building rapport and trust and getting to the point where you can have them, working towards a common goal, and you can have them talk and maybe divulge more personal information and still be okay. But I think where Overwatch makes a vital mistake is having that voice chat be so front and center to the gameplay experience, to be able to communicate what you need to communicate. Because when that rapport isn't there and you have a bunch of strangers and they're talking, it's so easy for someone to latch on to, like, say, like a kid who sounds who sounds really, really young, or like a person with like a really feminine voice, or whatever it might be. And it's really easy for them to hone in on that and just target them. And I'm gonna harken back to Apex a little bit again, but Apex had this in their game design where they made it so that they could have a complete communication system if the person had no mic whatsoever. So they tested their communication system without any microphone, and it works, right? It's this comprehensive ping system, and if Overwatch had that, maybe some of the toxicity might dissolve a little bit.
Overwatch used to have a ping system in early development, and then it just never
Yeah.
got pursued.
That's a
I don't know
shame.
why, but
Mm.
Yeah.
I think they said that Overwatch 2, they are looking at a ping system again, so we'll see.
Yeah, they've made
So
noises about
yeah.
a ping system. But those are like two or three interesting, different, kind of related but different points about how the nature of the game itself kind of encourages this. So we have the fact that it's probably one of the most team reliant games ever, at least to be popular, at least that I can think of, if not the most. And then obviously on top of that, like we said, the deficiencies in some of the
Well, no,
systems
I'll stop
itself.
you there. I don't think it's team reliant. It's role specific reliant, because you look at Valorant, you look at CS:GO, they're all team reliant. But you do have the carry potential. Yeah, one person can literally kill the whole team. You
Mhm.
can't do that in Overwatch. If you're not engaged in 6v6, you're going to lose that fight, right? It's very
Mhm.
rare you're going to win unless you've got some ult you can pull out the bag. But
Yeah, I guess the autonomy of each individual player is slightly lower. And I guess before I take this over to Skiesti UnsaltedSalt, I just wanted to say is maybe this is why, again, as Stylosa alluded to, we're going towards 5v5, where the idea being, one less player, easier for you to kind of have a bigger impact as the individual player. Maybe that has some aspect on, or some impact on how frustrated people get with each other. But either Skiesti or UnsaltedSalt, how do you guys feel about, does the game systems itself kind of encourage a lot of this toxicity, or?
I
Well,
mean, yeah, go on, Skiesti.
oh, sorry. I mean, there was something that I wanted to touch on really quickly that kind of, I think, related to what Stylis was talking about. But the idea of like having like a hero choice or something like that be very easy to blame and like kind of like a scapegoat situation. But something that kind of goes hand in hand with that is like people have bad games and they make mistakes, right? But sometimes you make one mistake, and that's the kind of impression that ends up sitting with someone else in your game. And then that person in your game tells all the people that they know, and then that just gets spread around. And you end up having this image of yourself based on like this one bad game that you had, or this one mistake that you made that might have like cost a round or something like that. And it is so unforgiving, even to the point where like there are people on Twitter who will take screenshots of other people's profiles and be like, "Oh, let's see if we can get this person like down to diamond, like they're not a good player, like they're, this, they're that." And people seem to agree with it and encourage it and follow it. And I think that's kind of the same thing with like the whole like I know some streamers and stuff like kind of allude to it, but no one really like really talks about it, is that whole like intless thing in a bunch of discords. Like people do that, and that's like, you know all of that gets based on like one mistake, or one like some image that someone has of you, or someone doesn't like you, and that stuff just spreads, and it's so unforgiving. Like once the Overwatch community sticks you with some kind of like label or some kind of image, that stays, and people get influenced by that
I've
so like
actually
easily.
I've got a very similar example here from an ancient game called EverQuest. So this was an MMO from years
The
ago,
Jeff,
right?
the
And
Jeff
I'm
OG.
old enough to have played this. Yeah, yeah. Jeff loves this. So I there was a website called worstofeq.com. Now this website catalogued the players who were perceived to be not good, at certain levels of the game. Because in EverQuest, you'd group together, so you'd form a group, you'd go off into a dungeon or whatever, but it wasn't like World of Warcraft where everything was an instance. Everything was just in the overworld, so everybody could interact with it. So you'd go out with your group, and if you had a person on your, in your group which maybe you hadn't had before, and this person made a mistake, then you didn't like that mistake, and it cost you hours of progress. That person gets removed from the group, and then they're literally, it's like a mugshot of their character. It would be screenshotted and uploaded to this website, and it was like, avoid this person at all costs, and that would heavily wreck that person's enjoyment of the game, because it takes hundreds of hours to level in the game, so you can't just start again, sort of thing. But the point I'm trying to make, a little bit of a convoluted point, but this happens, I think, at all the highest levels of most communities, and it's not great. It shouldn't happen. There should be ways of fixing this, especially in this day and age. It's very obvious where, especially if you look at Twitter, like specific accounts, as you say, it surely can't be difficult to look at these accounts, then try and cross-reference them with what they're doing within your game, for example. I mean, obviously, Blizzard don't have any jurisdiction over Twitter. They can't go out and say, remove these Twitter accounts and whatever. But they could use it as a tool, right? And it could be part of a tool for looking at ways of getting rid of bad actors out of the community, or at least trying to solve some of the issues that they have.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the key to this, is because I think some people watching will be like, oh, boo-hoo, bad stuff happens, guys. Like, what are you crying about? People are bad, so what? But, I think what we really have to get to is maybe the deeper reasons of, A, why it happens, and B, how we can kind of mitigate it. You can't stop it from happening, period, right? People will be dickheads, period. But how do we mitigate it? How does the game facilitate systems that makes their impact and makes their frequency as minimal as possible? And Salt, I wanted to ask you, because you've kind of had some beef recently, like Reddits and subreddits, and I know you've been harassed a lot. So how do you feel about these things that we're talking about here, where kind of impressions carry and people start, inting your games for perceived slights?
I've got this. I have so many experiences. I go through this every single day. I'll give you an example. Me and Beaver were playing a game, and my other tank, for some reason, Beaver says to him, I'm gonna Salt, can you give this guy some guidance? That's all he said. And the guy got so angry, and he just started rolling off the map with Hamster. And then he just started saying some weird stuff, and I was like, bro, what is wrong with you? And then fast forward, I got him the next day, and he just started like typing some like just toxic stuff. And then after that, the whole team joined in. So it's, I don't know. I think I agree with Stylosa. The part is that you keep running into the same people. So any negative experience you have with that person, it carries on. And therefore, like, if you beat him, you're like, yeah, take that, And then, like, if you lose, you're like, oh, you hate him even more because you don't want to lose to them. And I agree. There's like no place in GM or top 500. I play at 2 p.m. and it might be morning for NA because I play in NA. But I run into the same 12 people for like at least 2 hours straight, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm either gonna get farmed for 2 hours or I'm gonna farm. And SR wise, it's not that bad, but if there's any bad experience between those players, it's gonna be a toxic pile of mess.
I think that's just amplified by lack of people playing the game as well at that level. Like, I know there's always going to be a lack of people, but now there's even more a lack of people playing the game. And so it just gets worse and worse and worse. And the only way to cure this is to release new content. It's to release Overwatch 2, basically. So this is like, this is the thing, right? I remember back in 2019 at BlizzCon seeing Overwatch 2 and thinking, well, you know what? This must be fairly close to being finished. What they showed us was a very nice vertical slice of the game. Check out this mission. Hey, this looks great. Okay, talents didn't look good at the time. And you're thinking, this is probably 18 months away and we're going to get this. And then obviously we find out it's not. But the question is, like, how long can you keep going as a community and taking those hits, like keep taking the hits over and over again? And it's, I mean, you see it even from our perspective with content creators, you see them moving. I think, like, I love Holly. I think she's great. But one of the things that made me laugh with Holly is they used her to open BlizzCon online. And then a day later, by the way, I'm leaving, guys. Well, yeah, that's because there's no reason to really grind away at the game. Because well, obviously there is a reason, but it's the you feel like you're in it together sort
Yeah.
of thing, right? You know,
The
you
ecosystem.
don't want the game to fail, yeah.
Can I, like, for World of Warcraft, if you're like top 500 or anything, you get like amount armor, you get so much stuff. For like top 500 players in Overwatch, you just get a spray.
Yeah.
To
It's
get
like,
a spray and an
come
icon.
on, man. I'm like, if they implemented more rewards as well, I think it would give a reason for the grind. But yeah, sorry, yeah, carry on.
No, I think yeah, this is the thing, like, and this is why we're all waiting for Overwatch 2. I know I keep banging on about it, but it's what are the reward systems going to be for competitive? You know, there needs to be something. There's got to be something. But like through a reward system, you can kind of control the way players act as well. There's a lot of ways they can control the way players act in competitive, but they just don't. Like at the moment, it is literally a free for all. You know, you're just going in there and you're just hoping that you don't get the trash players on your team. And if you get them, oh well. And trash, by the way, I don't mean bad as in skill wise. I just mean as in like
Garbage humans.
yeah, like or they have beef with you. It's like what? You know what I mean? It's like you join competitive to play together to win the game. That's it. Or it
Yeah,
should
again,
be it. I mean, gee, you know what? Jeff put a bloody video out. Do you remember? A dev update going, guys, please don't be toxic to each other. That shows you that they had no clue how to deal with it. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I seen that. Guys, sorry, don't be nasty to each other. Let's play together.
no, there's so many good points there. I kind of want to I want to unpack all of them in turn. I think again the point I'd like to go to first is the staleness of the community. I think is definitely trickles down. Like obviously Skiesti and UnsaltedSalt, you guys are far better players than I am. So you sit there in top 500 and you guys you have that experience where it's just like, well, you literally are in the same lobby with 12 people. But even so, I've been trying to grind my alt roles out of like diamond and out of plat. And even in diamond and plat, I get sometimes the same people playing my games. I get way more cheaters than I've ever done. Like in those elos, like even like when I was Hardstock Master, I was like, yeah, fine, I'm close enough to GM that maybe I'm getting cheaters. But now in diamond, I'm getting cheaters. Plats, you're getting a lot of cheaters. So I think the staleness of the community really is trickling down. And I think I want to go back to a point Stylosa made earlier about, okay, well, there's Twitter and, maybe Blizzard could do something with the Twitter accounts and find a way to link them and find a way to police them. So the kind of broader philosophical question I want to ask you guys is, how much do you want your game to kind of reach out and actively try to weed people out? Because I want to give the example of Valorant, for example, which has a sort of controversial element where two things. Firstly, they have their anti-cheat system, which is always running on your PC, right? And a lot of people were kind of red flagging over this when it first came out, and I think they've kind of toned it back a little bit. But still, the idea is there's a sort of external program that runs on your PC, and people were like, whoa, I don't want this thing running all the time and collecting my data and monitoring what I'm doing. That's an infringement of my privacy. And then the other thing they've done is added, they're basically recording all communication that goes on within the game, right? So they have access to all voice communication that's gone on. And if there's a report, if they think something happened, they're going to go back in, they're going to listen to it, and they're going to say, okay, this person was being abusive, was being a bigot or whatever. And then they kind of clamp down on that. But again, the counter argument people are saying is, well, I don't want another, a third party company recording all my conversations. Like that's out of line. So how do you guys feel about that? Fareeha, I'm going to take it to you. How do you feel about that kind of philosophical issue?
Man, I just wish that bans actually did something, because you could have someone firing out like abuse like a Gatling gun. You could have a person who's on voice chat 24/7 and just constantly mad at everybody, and it's just like this torrent of sewage treatment water, and it's horrible. And then you report them, and everybody reports them, and then they get silenced for 2 weeks, and it's like, okay, that
Wait,
sucks.
Actually, something that's very funny that you said that.
Yeah.
Okay, I said something silly in match chat. I said, your Doomfist makes me want to, fist myself. That's exactly what I said from quote to quote. And then I got banned for 2 weeks.
What?
I was like suspended for 2 weeks. I was like, what?
No, that's just a little self-love.
Yeah.
But
well,
yeah,
that's the problem, right? How can they differentiate between when it's malicious and when it isn't? And it's just it is a massive can of worms. I mean, you ultimately end up with go on. Sorry, just interrupt me if I'm talking. Just interrupt me. Go.
Go.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say it's like that's not even like the worst of like what people have said. You got banned or suspended or whatever for that, and people say much worse. Like I like just as like a general overview, there are times when people end up verbally like hurling verbal abuse towards me so badly that like people have to sometimes leave my stream because even they can't handle it. And it's so insane that you end up getting what, like 2 weeks you said for that, whereas people who do so much worse, both on voice and off voice, like don't get anything. You see them like the next couple days and they're just still doing the same stuff.
What would you like the game to kind of do in your ideal world?
Me or
Anyone? Salted, you go. You go first, and then Skiesti
Me.
maybe next.
I would love for them to have the phone number thing is good for top 500, but I feel like I'm not exactly sure what they could do in it, but they should implement a system where you can only play on one account by creating something. For example, I don't know, if you want to play online, make Overwatch free to play and then give it a subscription based or something. So like every season you got to pay, I don't know, I'm not sure about pricing, but yeah. And that might like lower down on the people just making alt accounts, numerous accounts all the time, alt accounts, cheating, everything like that. Or, maybe you need a phone number, but on top of that, you need to confirm your email. Then on top of that, you got to confirm something else, Like it would be nice if they had like a confirmation system. So if this person does turn out to be racist or, hacks, their whole, they have to go through this whole system of doing multiple things. So it's even more difficult to do it, I guess.
I
And they'll
don't
have
know
to
what game it was for. I think South Korea has a system where they verify you using your social your social insurance number or something like that. So it's like
yeah,
you've
that
only
would
got
be
one, make account.
Well, in
yeah,
South Korea,
100%.
cheating is actually like you
Oh,
go to jail for cheating in
yeah.
video games. So like it's more extreme over there how they respond to gaming. Obviously, because the culture of gaming is much farther along. But again, that's kind of one aspect of it, right? It's like how deep would you like your game to go? Stylos and Skiesti as well. Like, what would you guys want to see implemented, for example?
Well, I mean, like Unsalted said, I mean, you have like a face it system, right? Would be pretty good for top 500 play. So even if you were just breaking down, like, you guys want to play the game, you want to play it competitively, you want to play it at a high level. There should be repercussions if people go into that atmosphere and throw the match. I don't care why they're throwing the game, but if they throw it, now this is where it gets difficult because what constitutes throwing in Overwatch? Because to a lot of us, it would be playing a very off meta hero in a very weird way, forcing the team to play in a stupid way, which we don't deem to be meta. That would be throwing. But is that actually throwing? This is the problem Overwatch has always had as a game. I mean, you go way back to the beginning of Overwatch, you could just have 6 Winstons. Well, I mean, you'd have 4 Winstons and 2 Lucios. What the frig is that? 6 Tracers contesting Li Jiang over and over and over again. I remember ZP killing himself trying to commentate, and it's just like, what is this? This is not good, Blizzard. We're telling you it's not good. Everybody's telling you it's not good. And took some time because, guys, in our ideal world, we want you to be able to do what you like, play what you like. Everything is viable. But it's not, is it? And we've seen throughout the years, these things have changed. You've seen roll queue come in, which at the time might have been a good idea. Now, who knows? But you started to see them step back where you could only have one hero on your team instead of having multiple heroes. So there are changes in that way. But in terms of like a payment block to stop people playing comp, through battle pass systems and all of that, like this is just all of that depends on whatever the monetization system is of Overwatch 2 because we simply don't know. I think Apex is a good comparison here as well.
Yeah.
And I think one of the main things with Apex is the casual mode is identical to the competitive mode. You've just got to rank in competitive. So what this means is you can happily play the casual mode and it's totally fine. Everybody loves to see it. It's the same game. It isn't playing some random Mystery Heroes game when everybody wants you to play competitive. You get what I'm saying? Like, so the game is the game is. I mean, I know Apex has got its various modes that it has, but it's more conducive to that experience of you can play it's quick play, quote unquote, which is just it's unranked, or you can play its ranked mode, and it is the same game. The rules are the same, and I think that goes a long way to conditioning the community how to act and play.
Skiesti, how do you feel about that?
I think, oh yeah, I guess I have a few thoughts. So one thing that personally I'd really like to see Blizzard put time and effort into is like obviously some kind of streamer mode, like I know other games have, which I feel like even just doing that would definitely do something because like for me, if I play on my main account and especially if I play it on stream, like people see my name and they're like they know who that is
They
and
can
that's
attack
like
you then.
an
Yeah, they
instant
can straight up
target.
find you, come into your stream, and just be idiots.
Exactly.
Um,
So
you know
even
what my
just like
question would be? How hard would it be for a streamer mode? Surely that would not
it
take much
really
development.
shouldn't be. Like, it shouldn't be that hard to make it harder for people to recognize that it's us because I end up having I end up having one hell of a time because yeah, like people see my name and they're like, "Oh, we don't think that she should be in our elo. We don't think she should be playing with us." And so people see my name and they're like, "Oh, I know what I'm gonna do, right?" And it happens so frequently. And like you as the player end up noticing that stuff, but some people do it in such subtle ways that if you tried to explain it on stream, people think you're crazy and they just think that you're whining and you're just
Mm-hmm.
complaining and you know, it's all this other stuff, but it's like it's right there even if other people can't see it. It's happening and it affects like it happens every day and it's so draining and so exhausting and it's like at the very least some kind of streamer mode would at least kind of help to like with that. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was quite a few patches ago there was this bug I think that accidentally like left everybody's ranks as like a white line or whatever when you
Yeah,
Oh
press
yeah.
tab.
yeah.
And even that, even though it was like for a little while, if you press tab, like people couldn't see at least what rank you were playing in, or it was harder to tell. And like that was just like a bug on their end or something like that, and they fixed it. But it really begs the question, like, okay, well, how hard would it be to actually have this mode where you could hide what rank you're in, where you could hide your name, you know, to make it just at least harder for people to, you know, recognize you immediately in game and be like, oh, that's who that is, and this is what I'm gonna do, right? So even just something like that, I feel would be beneficial.
If I remember correctly, Blizzard's response to try and bring balance, their response was something along the lines of, "We're working on a streamer mode, but we don't want it to be abused by people who could abuse the streamer mode." If that might be what they said roughly. Sty, you might
Yeah.
know as well.
Yeah, I think there was something along the lines of a streamer mode would have to be for everybody to be able to use, and we don't want people to abuse it and all of this stuff. Because it's easy from our perspective, because how would we abuse that? You know what I mean? But other people, maybe they would find a way to, I don't know,
Yeah,
use it in
maybe
a
there's something
manipulative
that they
fashion,
know
right?
that that people can use it
Yeah,
to exploit, and like I don't know, who
yeah,
knows? I'm sure again we have to give them some benefit of the doubt and say they're not complete idiots and they do have an
no,
idea of what they're.
yeah, but
But that being
we still
said,
have to be critical, though. This is the thing,
yes, we
like,
still have to be
Yeah.
critical.
but the key is being constructively critical critical of them and not just shouting abuse at them. Like, I think some stuff is like, they would be crazy if there is no streamer protection mode in Overwatch 2. That might just be it. It might be there in Overwatch 2, and it is impossible to plug this into Overwatch 1 code. It might literally be that, and they don't want to come out and go, yeah, by the way, guys, it's there, but you won't get it until Overwatch 2 comes out. It might just be that. Like, this is the problem. The communication back and forth is it's so difficult at times. You don't know what they're doing.
Well,
wonder.
we oh, sorry.
Oh no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, like during the early stages of Overwatch, I remember we used to have like developer updates so like consistently, and they would like actually communicate what they were working on and like what they wanted to do. And then eventually it just we started getting them like months in between, and then the time got like even longer and longer in between updates, and to the point where like it gets really frustrating that it feels like we don't have any kind of communication with them and that like we don't know what they're doing. Like, if they're working on stuff or what they're
Hmm.
working on.
One idea I had for this was like maybe if there was this like application that Overwatch creators could, you know, apply for, and it would just give them access to maybe like 20 name changes. And it's like if you know you abuse it, it's still trackable because the account ID is still tied to you. But you know, it makes it so that streamers don't have to spend hundreds just trying to stay anonymous and stay out of that like that red light zone, right?
Oh, yeah, because every name change is what, $10? Something like that.
Yeah, it's like 20 Canadian.
Well, it's how they monetize Overwatch.
Oh, I've never bought a name change before.
It's
like
the
I've never
only
changed my main
microtransaction
account
people
though.
do.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's so much in Canada. Holy.
Yeah, and
Like I've never bought one, but
I know people are going to say, well, oh, well, why should streamers have something like that's special for them? And the idea being just because, well, they're subject to special harassment that, you know, an ordinary player is not. That's the reason why. So you need special solutions because, you know, your ordinary player isn't streaming and having someone pop into their stream and look at the queue time to find when to queue in with you and then get into your game and then throw it on purpose or, you know, all kinds of things. So for anyone who sort of feels like, well, why do streamers get this special thing that, you know, why should they get this special access? Well, they are dealing with a whole set of problems that most people don't. I do want to, if there's anything else any of you guys want to add on that before I kind of slightly change the topic? No? So I think there's some good ideas there, and, you know, hopefully there's things that Blizzard can think about. I know maybe things that Blizzard's already thinking about. Again, part of the solution and part of the frustration is that we don't necessarily know what's going on in Blizzard's head half the time, and we're kind of left to guess. But I did want to allude to something that Skiesti touched on about, and actually Stylosa touched on as well, is like what is constituted like throwing, for example. Because in some people's minds, an off-meta pick is throwing. So I kind of wanted to get you guys' thoughts and opinions on like how there seems to be a real divide between the community where some sections feel like you have to, if you enter comp, you have to play a certain way. And other people feel like, well, even if I'm playing comp, I'm going to play the game the way I want to play it. And I think a good example of this would be recently Crimzo, the Overwatch League player for the Houston Outlaws. He tweeted an image of a lobby that he was in where it was 11 Overwatch League players. And then the 12th player on his team was a Roadhog one trick in top 500. And he was kind of very frustrated. And he was like, you know, this is essentially throwing my game and I hate it. You know, it's ruining this experience for me. And, you know, there was a divide amongst the community where some people were like, hey, he's just playing the game. Like, what do you want from this guy? Like, he's allowed to play whatever he wants to play. And other people were like, yeah, it's frustrating. You know, if you're playing comp, you should play the optimal way to play. Like, it is throwing to pick Roadhog. It's an insta loss. So where do you guys stand? And Skiesti, I want to head to you first because I know you have
I have
thoughts
a lot
on
to
this.
say about that. I did see that tweet, and one of the things that bothered me about it, like right off the bat, was that like he didn't blur out this guy's name. Like his name was right there. I think it was on an alt account, but like there was no like regard about if like someone recognized that person maybe, and then like, you know, that kind of targeted that like that might have put like a target on his back. And I don't think that was something that was thought about when the screen cap was posted. But something else in general, just in regard to that game, is like, okay, you're in this like, you know, substantial lobby of all of these like top like Overwatch League players, right? And okay, you could try to play what they'd like you to play and try to, you know, or you could play something that you might actually be able to keep up with them at that like level, because that's how you kind of got there. But it's kind of like, okay, well, do you force this person who is already probably uncomfortable in this like big lobby to play something that they don't play and potentially make that even harder? Or do you let them play what they play and maybe have a better chance as that, because they, you know, just might be able to actually keep up with you?
Yeah, I mean, throwing is playing not to win. So in the Crimzo example, is he throwing because he's playing not to win because he's got a Roadhog one trick? Or is the Roadhog throwing because he's playing Roadhog that isn't considered to be meta at the time? This is the problem. Now, when you enter into the lobby, oh, look, there's a Roadhog one trick. The rest of the team are Alpros. We're like, well, guys, we can't do
It's
anything with
already a
this.
mental thing.
Yeah, but it's like
Yeah.
they decide, do we build a comp around this or do we just games, GG, let's go next, which is what they've done, and then took it to Twitter. But who is wrong here? Now, again, I think this is a game design problem, because what is the easiest way to rank up in Overwatch? It is to one trick like crazy. Hog is especially good at this, but it's just pick a hero and absolutely one trick the hell out of it, and you become extremely proficient at that hero. And then when you start getting to the high levels, you start having some issues every now and again. But that's not to say that hero you are one tricking is bad. The game is still winnable. The game's always winnable. But you see what I mean? Like the difference there of opinion, it's impossible to work that out. But I just think it's a game. It's just a fundamental game issue of one tricking just being generally. Like, this is what we do as humans, right? You want to become good at a thing. You're not going to be, okay, I'm going to be a hit scan player, but then also a Reinhardt player. That's completely different mentality. I mean, yeah, there'll be players out there that are like, oh, yeah, whatever style I do that. It's like, get lost, you know. You play one role, and that's the role you play. You're either a support player that plays a specific support, you're a tank player that plays in a specific way, you're a DPS player that plays in a specific way, and that's what you become good at. How many of the Owl pros, like, remind me what Hacksal's known for, or Profit, Gesture. Gesture actually is really good hit scan, so he's a bad example. He's actually a super bad example.
He is the main tank that plays McCree, but
yeah, he's McCree is cracked, man. Oh my god. But yeah,
you get that. But before I ask the others about it, what is the solution there? Obviously, we can say it's a game design problem. Again, is 5v5 going to help? What's the way forward? We can't just abandon it, right, and be like, Overwatch fuck, that's how it is.
The way forward is a developer update video going, guys, be nice to each other.
Play nice, play Fareeha. Salt, give me your thoughts on this. You're again someone who spends a lot of time in the higher ladder. I mean, this doesn't have to be exclusive to ladder. I know a lot of people share this frustration even in, plat and diamond and stuff. But what do you think about this whole issue? Is off meta one throwing? Off meta one tricking throwing?
It's a bit hard to say because it's not a clean cut thing to say yes or no to, because I believe in lower elo you can play anything and win. So like if you're in diamond or plat or even masters, it's always winnable. It does not matter what hero you're playing. But when it comes to like that match with Crimzo, I get what he's saying, because everyone is playing meta. They're playing the hardcore, like they're playing bat, they're playing double shield, whatever DPS they're playing. And if you have one person that's not on the same level or help, with the same characters, you just flat out lose. I've been through it where I spent 4 minutes trying to cap this point, and I was screaming at my support, just go Anna, and we win. We don't need to waste 3 minutes of our lives. Just go Anna. And in the end, he went Anna, and we won instantly. But like, I don't know. I do one trick Roadhog sometimes. I'm very flexible. I can play pretty much all tanks, but I don't know. It's a weird one to say, because I feel like you should be able to one trick and do whatever you want, because it's, you paid for the game, you could do whatever you want, and you got to that elo with the one trick hero. And if you do try and flex, because I've seen this as well through experience. I know someone who one trick Sigma, as soon as they went to Orisa, they instantly lost, even though they tried to flex and help. Like, it happens both ways. So I think it's a bit weird. And the only thing that I guess that could stop this is either, add more characters. So like it always swaps it up, like what the meta could be, or they could, I remember back in the day when I used to play, like about 4 years ago, when Ryan Zari was a thing, you would go Orisa Hog, and then, or when Orisa Hog was, when Ryan Zari would counter Orisa Hog, you'd go dive, like you just would consistently swap it up. I remember back like 2 years ago where it was a lot of fun, actually, just consistently swapping heroes to just counter stuff. Now it's just like you're stuck with this meta. You have to play this, and it's so mundane and it's so boring, and it gets even more frustrating when you lose, because as a tank, you have to play these characters. If you don't, you lose. And even if you do, and someone else on your team doesn't play the certain characters, you lose again. And it's just a build up. And I think it's a fundamental issue at the game. They're not adding content.
Well, it's just exacerbated through the game being stale. There's no content.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, and heroes are the thing which do shit. That throws the meta into disarray more than most things if the heroes are coming out fast enough. But then, of course, the problem is If you've got tons of heroes, then you've got a lot of heroes that'll basically never get used. I think another way, and I don't really think this is a great idea, but another way to solve some of the issues would be actually forming the team before the game launches, not just throwing 6 players together and going, I hope they make a comp. Oh, wait, they haven't. Uh-oh. Now, there is a way of doing this in Overwatch. You can do it with a group finder, but nobody uses it because it's not very well implemented. So why would you use it? And your queue times are astronomical. Now, I don't know whether you guys remember, but very early Overwatch, the ranked system, the very early beta of the ranked system was a full team system. You had to have a full team. You couldn't just go on. There was no solo queue, which is that obviously the developers thinking that's the ideal way the game should be played. But in the real world, you can't do that because no one's going to wait that amount of time for a game to pop. And that's another problem, you know. But if there was a team-specific league tournament system, or God knows what in the game, which I'm sure, I hope they're working on these systems, then that cures some of that stuff, you know. Because you guys, I mean, you guys must have played in organized teams. You must have. Even just organized scrims or whatever, like that is a completely different game. That is a better game. That's the best Overwatch experience. But the game doesn't allow you to play like that. It just throws you together with 5 other people and goes, off you go. And also maps as well. You know, one tricks, Unsalted touched on this a bit, but one tricks can be extremely good on certain maps. And if they don't get the map, they just lose. Okay. But they just queue again, and then, hey, they get the map that they work on. Which is, again, really frustrating. And also, why can't we select the maps you can play on? I'd play more Overwatch if I could, because I really don't want to play. Well, I know 2CP's being deleted, but yeah.
Yeah, don't necessarily want to queue into Havana. I wanna get Fareeha's opinion on this. Fareeha, how do you feel about all this?
Oh, I wanted to tack on to what Sty was saying. I think if there was like a clan or a group system present in Overwatch where you could say it doesn't have to be anything big. It could just be like people who like to play flank playstyles, right? So you could get yourself, you know, like a Winston or a Diva main, and then you could get like a Genji Tracer, and then you have a group of buddies that you can just like play arcade, quick play, even ranked with, and you know you're brought together by this mutual bond of something, and it's not so random, and there's a higher likelihood that you're going to be on the same page because you have this similar construct of how this game should be played, and you could work that into like people who actually enjoy having a Bastion, or like people who like the weirdness of having a Torb sometimes, you know, like it would be so cool.
Yeah, I think this again alludes to things we kind of discussed. I've touched on as well, like the problems are kind of endemic with the game, and you know, a lot of these clan things, you know, Blizzard say, well, we're coming, we got something coming, we have to again sit here and kind of be like, well, okay, I hope it's good, guys, I hope it's good. And it's kind of there's this sort of philosophical fight again of how much do you reward team play versus solo play, and I feel like we're going more towards the solo side rather than the team side, because always the group find is punishing. Like again, Stylosa brought up the group find. I remember the week when it came out, or like the month it came out, everybody was using the group find. Everybody was like, oh, look at this awesome feature, let's get in there, let's make stacks. And then everyone realized, oh, I'm getting longer queues and harder games. Why do I do this again? Why don't I just go solo queue where people aren't coordinating and I don't have to deal with tougher opponents, I'm still getting the same SR? So
this is the issue. The issue is filling games fast, and they know from their fancy business intelligence department that players do not want to sit there with a queue. Now, when you're streaming Overwatch, it's actually kind of nice to have a queue sometimes because you can talk to your chat, which is actually kind of nice, right? But as an actual player, somebody sitting there playing the game, they're going a bit stir crazy, and they'll only tolerate a certain number of games, and then they're gone. You know, you have to think, like, sometimes it can be really hard for us because anybody watching this stream, all of us, anyone watching any content we make, they are arguably hardcore Overwatch fans. The actual very casual fan who doesn't even know who any of we are, doesn't even know who the devs are, doesn't care, just likes Zarya or Tracer or whatever. That player is what they're catering for, and they need that player to fill a game fast. If that player is not filling games fast, then it becomes a problem. Now, my argument to this is surely there must be scope for more advanced systems to be put in place for higher ranked players, and, you know, tournament systems. Nothing stops them. Like StarCraft 2 has this, where you have the divisions, like your Bronze Cup, the Masters Cup, whatever. You know, that would be, people would enjoy that, and it would give them a reason to play together. If you're plat, I don't care what your rank is. If you're silver, you've got a bunch of silver mates, you all get together, you take part in a silver tournament and you win it. You get a special spray or whatever. Oh, look, we're the champions of silver. As bad as that sounds, you've won something and you've worked together for it. And the game is facilitating a mental change in your head to work together as a team to win something. But of course, the problem of all of this is player base size, speed of filling games, and it all falls back to, well, it's just easier to have a massive, what do they call it, dynamic queue or something, where they just everyone can queue together, and then we just fill games and hope for the best. Like, I remember like going back to season 2, 3, 4. Nevix. I hated Nevix. If Nevix was on my team, you win. Nevix is on the enemy team. It's pointless playing. It's like, what is going on? And it was, Tavik was the same. All these other players, and it was just a mess, right? It was completely unbalanced. But it's because it's just filling players based off their SR. Really, it's not actually looking at, those players should have been playing in like a Face It style division. Above ranked, above top 500. They should be in their own subset, which is below, well, contenders wasn't a thing, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's a more ultra competitive environment, because them players are so far advanced than anybody else. It was just a waste of time playing in those games.
Well, there's actually something interesting that you said. I think CS:GO do something like that, where they have their own
Yeah.
system where like these people who just want to try hard and win, and like
Mm.
they're even, like you said, above top 500. They go into games and they go against each other. There's no toxicity, nothing. And
I'm going to interrupt you, Salted, because I think it's good, but the problem is Overwatch, because in CS:GO, what you've got your AWPer and everyone else is using rifles. I mean, you could have. There's all the different heroes, and it's all the way they go together.
true.
It's just, I don't know. I think Overwatch is always going to have a lot of problems compared to other games. I'm not to say that there isn't solutions, because isn't this what game designers are for? They should be coming up with these solutions, and hopefully they do. But
Yeah, because like even within your role, your SR on Reinhardt has no bearing on your ability to play Roadhog, right? Like it's not. It doesn't.
yeah, exactly.
You flex between
yeah.
those heroes, and suddenly you're like, maybe 1,000 SR apart on those heroes. And how do we balance
Well,
those people?
I remember when Roll Queue was getting put together, one of the first bits of feedback was, why is there not a main tank and a flex tank or an off tank queue? Why is it just tank? Because what happens if you get 2 off tanks? You can't win. At that time, it's like, but
At
no,
that
it's
time,
fine.
now we only get double off tanks.
Yeah. So now they're just like, but yeah, back then it was like there was glaring issues with it, but it was a step in the right direction in some ways, because at least you were playing in what should be skill relevant games for the role you want to play, but it is still dependent on whatever the other, person with the same role selected as you decides to play. You're a tank player, Sorted. So what happens if, like, you want to play Winston, but oh wait, somebody's just queued in as Winston, and you're thinking, well, I want to play Winston this game. I know you can play other heroes, obviously, but it's annoying, right? It's like,
No,
well,
yeah, it
what's
is
going on
annoying.
here? There was a lot of stuff discussed, and I hope this is a thing for Overwatch too. But even on player profiles, you should be able to list your preferred heroes. It should say,
Yes, yeah.
I prefer this player, this player, and that's it. Like, if I'm playing support, I want to play Zen or Anna or Baptiste. I don't want to play Brig. Like, no. You know what I mean? Or I don't want to play Lucio because I'm so bad. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like, don't cue me. Like, with the game, what the game should do is it should understand that, again, I don't know. This doesn't really make sense what I'm going to say, because, like you said now, like, double off tank is pretty good. But, like, if it was sort of being a kind of prioritizing, main tank, flex tank. So always try to put a main tank and a flex tank together. It wouldn't put 2 Reinhardt mains together. And it could work this out from the information it's got on your account. If you had 200 hours on Reinhardt and no hours on any other tank, but you're queuing as tank, then it should not be putting you together with somebody else with 200 hours on Reinhardt.
You guys
And maybe it
remember
does do that, but
Yeah, do you guys remember that thing in like the, I guess, like the team screen, where you could hover over everybody and then you could see their
yeah,
like their
Yeah.
why
thumbs,
did that
I
get
think?
removed?
Right?
No
Yeah.
clue. That's insane.
That was such a good feature. And if they could tell, like, hey, I have Echo and Tracer and Sombra as my most played, don't put me with someone else who has those same 3, And the same thing with supports, where you have like 2 Ana mains and they don't play anything else. It's like, this could be solved.
I remember Blizzard said that they felt it was becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. They basically you hover over someone's profile, they're playing Zarya. The team is like, all right, pick Zarya then, buddy. And then if they wanted to pick Reinhardt, they felt like, everyone was like, wait, you're only playing Zarya. But yeah, again, it's that debate of like private profile as well, right? I think that's a big pet peeve people have. Like, why do we have profiles if half of everybody is private? What's the point? You can't tell what your teammates are playing. But I do think, at least to prefer would be a good option. And to Stylosa's point, I mean, clearly one of the biggest factors in all of this is queue times. Again, it always comes back to queue times.
It will
in
always
Overwatch
come back to
1.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially in Overwatch 1. Maybe in Overwatch 2 they have a chance to reinvent stuff because we'll have like a reinvigorated player base. But definitely one of the major answers for anything not being implemented right now is, well, guys, you already complained about the queue times now. Now you want me to prefer your Reinhardt with your Zarya? Well, get ready for double the queue times. And
like, even like in regards to queue times, I end up solo supporting a lot. And even today, I waited 25 minutes for a game. Like, in what universe am I solo supporting, and I end up waiting 25 minutes? And also, that's like, for streaming, like, yeah, I mean, you could use that time to talk to your chat or like play a different game in queue, but you shouldn't have to find another game to play while you're
I
waiting
think how
to play
ridiculous
Overwatch.
that sounds. Yeah, it's like go
Yeah.
and find another game.
Exactly. I've got games on Steam, and I'm like, well, might as well just open up Steam. Let's go play whatever this is that I can just like easily stop when the queue pops. Like, it's insane.
yeah, it's like that middle ground because obviously we have these complaints, and at the same time we want reasonable queue times, but it's like a chicken and egg, right? If the game is bad, nobody plays, and then the game becomes worse, and then we're like, hey, do these things to fix it. That would make queue times worse and the game better, but then how do you get people to come back? It's a very frustrating situation.
I mean, it's the same issue with like a tournament. Well, not a tournament system, but even like a 6v6 specialist, team only ladder system. That would have the same issues. You need such a massive player base to pull it off, or the game needs to incentivize it. Like if it said every Saturday was like a special tournament, like between the hours of 9 a.m. and 12 p.m., there was tournament games will get played at certain hours, and the game just auto filled these in. And can you imagine sitting there playing Overwatch and then you get the notification and it's like, whatever stupid name you've called your team, it's ready to go. It needs to play somebody, and you literally click it, you join it, you finish your game, whatever, and then it just throws you into a game. There are ways around it, but there's also, whatever way you look at it, it just comes back to population, and population is a problem through lack of active, well, let's say public development of the current game. And because we're waiting for Overwatch 2, we've got this situation of very minimal support for Overwatch in its current state. I mean, the only thing we get now to switch up the game is a balance patch, which is great. And then we'll get like a new event
challenge
with skins. Yeah. So it's like, so you are waiting for what comes next, and this is like a completely different discussion on the way Overwatch 2 is handled. But I honestly think it's a little bit of a gamble this is now, because they're sitting there with a community hoping that whatever is launched with Overwatch 2 is good enough to capture them. Because you imagine if Overwatch 2 falls flat on its face, that's a very big gamble you've played there by pretty much, I don't want to say neglecting your Overwatch community, but leaving the game in a very very stable but stale state for so long, and then going, by the way, here's our big update. And if people are like, "Oh, is that it?" Then like one of the issues I've got with the potential way Overwatch 2 could go is it all hinges on PvE, right? Everybody playing Overwatch right now are playing PvP. Anyone who wants to play PvP can buy Overwatch right now. They don't really have any inclination to buy Overwatch 2. They're buying it because they want the PvE. So you imagine if it comes out and it's got 5 missions. It doesn't matter how well made they are, but you play them and you're like, well, this was great. It was a week of content. And then off you go to your other game. And that's a problem. So I don't know how many missions or content or whatever it'll have, but I hope to God that they put a massive amount of content in to keep people engaged, because then they move from PvE, they play PvP, and then ultimately, they watch contenders, they watch Overwatch League, they go through the whole system of Overwatch.
This thing scares me so much because Borderlands is another series that is entirely pretty much PvE with some co-op aspects. So it's like very similar to what Overwatch 2 is aiming to do, where it's like a bunch of lore drops, a bunch of story, and you can experience it with friends. and there's a bit of replayability. However, you don't see any Borderlands 3 streamers. You see people do a playthrough of the game, and then they set it down. And that's what scares me about Overwatch 2, is like, isn't that just what's gonna happen? We're gonna play it for a week or two, and then we're gonna run out of stuff to do.
Well, yeah, I mean,
suppose the
that's
idea.
a
Sorry, go
valid
ahead, Sai.
concern, right? Yeah, I'm just like, I mean, you look at the systems they're supposed to have. So, is it hero missions are the no, story missions are like the story, the lore stuff,
The campaign. Yeah.
the special PvE, and then hero missions I think are just random events on various maps. And from the way they keep explaining that, I don't know if any of you guys have played Diablo, but in Diablo 3, you would essentially look at the map of the world, and it would have little, like, each zone would have like a little event happening, and you sort of like log into the game and go, oh, I'm going over there, and you would do the event, kill the boss, whatever, then go to the next thing, do the event, kill the boss, and you get rewarded with this. I think that's what they're doing with hero missions, where it'll be, you look at a massive sort of Watchpoint Gibraltar style map, and it'll be like, oh, there's all these flashpoints happening all over the world. Let's go to King's Row, and you do a special escort mission, and then you go to another map. And the question is that actually enough to keep people engaged? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. Or like, one of the issues, I mean, like, I have a lot of exposure to like a more casual audience, and one of the things that they still don't understand is what the hell even is Overwatch 2. Because they just see a game that looks very similar to Overwatch, and all they've seen, which is new, is a couple of maps, and that's it. And Sojourn.
Did you guys see the alleged Activision employee leak? that
Yeah, I
came
did.
out,
Yeah,
a couple of days ago?
I don't
So
think
for
I did.
anyone,
No,
so
I
anyone
didn't.
unaware, basically, there's an alleged leak of an Activision employee, mainly coming from the POV of WoW, but has some very interesting tidbits in general for Activision Blizzard as a company. And he basically said that Blizzard are at a sort of a real crossroads moment where everything hinges on World of Warcraft and Overwatch 2, where basically there's been a sort of culture shift that the OG devs who kind of made games for the fun and passion of making games, the Jeff Kaplans of the world, the Jeffs, the ones who sort of, we are gamers and we make games for gamers, they've been kind of slowly ushered out, like, because of both top-down management kind of wanting a more monetized commercial system, but also a new wave of developers coming in who see development as a job at the end of the day, right? Like, a lot of the OG developers came in as passion first, whereas the argument that this leak made is that, a lot of the new age of developers are business first, and that's driving games in general to be more monetization focused, and that's kind of the primary goal. And yeah, basically the leak, I recommend you read it, check it out. I think there's a command in my chat about it as well. It basically said that they kind of have had a we're too big to fail mentality for quite a while, Blizzard, particularly when it comes to WoW. So they've ignored a lot of the criticism, and now they're at a point where they've lost the goodwill of the community that they once had. Everyone used to think of Blizzard as this like good guy, like the good guys who make good games. But now everyone kind of views Activision Blizzard as the bad, evil, money greedy corporation. And without realizing it, Blizzard have kind of backed themselves into a corner where if Overwatch 2 fails, we might be going down the route of like Blizzard just makes mobile games that are like Candy Crush. So that's kind of the context as well, what's going on here, where it is feel like Blizzard have really come to a moment where Overwatch 2 has to deliver. And I have implicit faith in their ability to deliver great games, but there's been a lot of scuff in Overwatch 2 terms, and especially what Stylosa talked about, where it's like they promised a lot and then it maybe it doesn't come through, because some of their announcements in the interim period of announcing Overwatch 2 and now have been really underwhelming, like the whole Summerfest thing where they were like, we have something coming in Summerfest, and then it's a BAP and Sombra skin remodel, and everyone's like, well, what? You showed us some skins that we can't wear for a game that we don't know is coming out when, and you won't give us many details about what the game is. So thanks for that announcement.
Even the, hey, let's have a PvP stream and show 5v5 off and give no launch date, because then it's like, well, hang on, I play with my friend who are a tank duo, so what? I just tell him no now. It's like it's pointless playing this game because it's going to change to 5v5. So there's like messaging issues I think Blizzard have. But I think like going back to I don't know whether that leak's accurate or not. It's from 4chan, who knows? But you don't need that to look at what's been going on with certain people. I mean, Jeff is the great example. You know, you look at someone there who is there or was there to make games that people want to play, and that's it. There's no consideration about making money. There's zero. I've met Jeff. I can't even tell you how many times. He does not care or did not care about making money. He wanted to make a good game, and that was it. But then what we don't ever get to see is what goes on above their level. So we don't get to see what management says to the certain development teams. So Blizzard operates in a way where they have Team 1, Team 2, Team 3, Team 4, and all this. Overwatch is Team 4, and it's its own little thing. But the head of Team 4, which was Jeff, reports to upper management, and they tell you what to do. Now, there's a lot of talk about, hey, maybe this is Activision coming in over the years, the way things have changed. Because Blizzard in the old glory years, let's say, of Blizzard, maybe they just had a blank check to do whatever they wanted to do. There was no consideration for money. I mean, if you look at animated shorts are a good example. I think it was quoted somewhere that animated shorts cost around $300,000 a minute to make. So they're very expensive, especially when you look at some of them that are like 10 minutes long. So how can you get those approved if your game isn't making enough money? You get what I'm saying? So they don't get approved. But because you've already set the precedent of bang, 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 look at all these amazing cinematics. There's a reason why most came out around launch, because that's the marketing budget for the launch of the game. And I've no doubt we'll see the same thing again for Overwatch 2. There will be a massive like assault of animate short, and it'll be like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. But then it's what comes after, you know? And it's just that disconnect. But yeah, I think it's just a case of if you had passionate, if you were a very passionate game developer and you were there to innovate and push genres forward and refine genres as Blizzard have always been known for, but publicly you're getting destroyed by your community because of decisions management have made above you. How long can you take that as a person? I mean, you couldn't. You just would be like, "What is going on here?" And then maybe you end up leaving, and then as you said, SVP, like you sort of end up with people who are just there for work, not there because they're actual, creators. But we'll never know. This is the thing. We'll never know with Blizzard. But
Yeah, I wanna kind of ask a more broad question, Ty, because we can kind of go back and forth about this forever. It's kind of there's no end to it in a way because there's the complaints don't end. But I want to ask a question, and I want to change the topic a little bit, and I want to direct this one to Fareeha. Fareeha, you've kind of left the Overwatch community, right? In a way, like you don't really play Overwatch too much anymore, at least from what I gather. Why do you think people are leaving the community? Do you think how much of an aspect do you think it is the community itself? How much do you think it's the game?
Oh God. Well, for me, I kind of took a step back because I felt like I had achieved my own goals. Like hit top 500 a couple times, and it felt good. And I just felt like it was almost like diminishing returns. I hate saying that, but it's like it's true because you pour your heart and soul into this game, right? To make content for a game that isn't giving you a lot of content back. It takes a lot of heart, it takes a lot of passion, and over time, right, it kind of grinds your gears a little bit when you see that the people that you run across a lot in ranked, for instance, they really don't want you there, and that they make that very clear, right? And so over time you kind of fall a little bit out of love with it because you're putting so much into it, and there's good back, right? You get a lot of good back, but there's also this massive wave of just anonymous hate coming your way, and yeah, just kind of want to take a step back away from that.
Grinds you
Now I
down.
play piano.
Piano doesn't yell at you, I hope.
Yeah, I can yell at myself now.
Good. It's good to be control of who's yelling at you. I wanted to take this over to Skiesti after that, and also I want to get Salt's opinion. But Skiesti, you've kind of dealt with a lot of this, targeting, people kind of just giving indiscriminate hate to you. And a lot of it comes from your hero pick. I think this is one of the elephants in the room, is that not all hero picks are created equal when it comes to Overwatch. And you obviously being a Mercy player, probably one of the more disliked, at least at the higher elo, hero picks. Because of, again, what we alluded to earlier, people considering what's meta and what's not meta. How do you feel about this issue?
So there's a couple of really important things that I think I want to touch on with that question, just if I can rant for a second. you know, I play this game like really consistently 6 days a week for hours. I even play this game like off stream because like I can't express how much I love this game, even though a lot of people might feel like it might be stale sometimes, or like we have a lack of content, you know, from Blizzard. I can't put into words how much I like just my love for this game, and I think that that really shows when people come to like interact with me and like visit my community or my stream. I think that that's one thing that like gets across. And so it sucks when like you love this game so much, but the community is determined to make you miserable. Like or like have days where like they just absolutely wreck your mental health, and that's insane that like that's even possible. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, you know, just like mute voice chat or like just mute text chats and stuff like that." But you shouldn't have to do that. Like I know eventually at some point like it gets so bad that you're going to have to, but the issue there is that you shouldn't have to do that in the first place. You shouldn't queue up in a game and get harassed or just have your games thrown because of like who you are or what you play. I think you know, people always ask me whenever I like talk about this, and I try not to talk about it a lot because it'll seem like I'm complaining. But people are like, "Oh, well, why do people not like you?" I hit 3 big major targets for Overwatch players. I'm a streamer, I'm female, and I play a character they don't like. Or, you know, like those are 3 big targets and I hit every one of them. And it's so heartbreaking to be treated poorly in game when people realize it's me or have myself be targeted. And that stuff even extends to like, you know, sometimes people talk about me on Twitter or in like other streams, or even like I've had like streamers in their own streams say like awful things about me. And it's so just like it's so disheartening and just like heartbreaking to experience that with something that you love, and people are it seems like they're okay with it, or they like encourage it, or even if they don't encourage it, they don't discourage it. Like no one talks about it, which is why I even wanted to gather people here to talk about it, to start a conversation, to try to make people care about the way that they make other people feel. Like it's like obviously you don't have to like everyone and not everyone has to like you. That's just how it is. But Overwatch players just take it to such another level of trying to hurt people and make their days worse and just make them suffer for who they are or like what they play. It's just so heartbreaking, and it's so hard to deal with sometimes because like dealing with that day in and day out like that does something to you and it sucks.
That sounds so exhausting.
It's believe me.
I don't
Yes.
even know why you play the game. Like,
I love
I'd be
this
gone.
game. I love this game so much.
That's
Like
the
it's
problem, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, like
Right.
We'll be back in.
yeah, like
Yeah,
I just
Fareeha,
love
sorry, I just wanted to get Fareeha's thoughts on this because Fareeha, we spoke about this on a group up call 2 years ago. This, you know,
Oh yeah.
and then it's
Yeah, I remember
we're
that.
back here now. So, how do you reflect on all of it?
Oh man. It's so hard to kind of distance yourself from the things that they say, cuz like some people they'll go out of their way to like find out information about your personal life and then
That's
use
scary.
that against you. I'm just like I just want to go in and click some heads, man. Like what are you doing? Yeah, it blows my mind.
On
But
that,
I
like oh, so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. But I will say though, the competitive side of Overwatch versus the casual side is like vastly different. It's like mind blowing, you know? Like I I get a little bit scared every time I log into Overwatch to play, right? Because there will be people who like see my name and be like, "Oh, is that you?" And then I'll like expect the worst because that's kind of what comp trains you to do. But then they're so nice. They're so nice, and like months go by without anything like terrible being said, and it's just such a nice change of pace. I wish that, I guess, the community and the watcher base of Overwatch was more open to quick play and pubs and that kind of stuff.
Do you agree with that, Salt? Like you again, you're someone who grinds comp a lot. Do you rather sometimes just not deal with all that? You want to chill and quick play, but you feel pressure to keep playing comp?
For me, if I'm not playing comp, the game is just, I don't know, like quick play for me is just extremely boring. There's nothing there for me. I mean, I can see why, see why it has its attractions that it does. So, it's chill, play your hero, what you want to play, chill with friends. You talk about, oh yeah, I had a long, day at work. Yeah, how you doing? That I'm happy that it exists, but for me, I need something. I'm a very competitive person. I'm very passionate. So when I do something, I go hard at it. So when it comes to comp, I have to play comp or I just can't play the game. But that's just my opinion.
That's valid. Yeah.
It's the loss of structure in the game. Again, this is like the Apex example is good for this. Like the standard Apex experience is the same as the competitive experience. Sure, it's different. There is a meta. People will play different, but the core experience is kind of the same. You will still stick together as 3 players and run around together. You will not just run off on your own. You very
Well-
rarely see that in Apex. In quick play in Overwatch, yeah, it's a bit weird. I think quick play is kind of the. I don't think most people play quick play. I think they're playing in the arcade. Honestly, they're playing all the mystery heroes and the fun modes, which are just completely wild and like, hey, this is funny. And what makes it funny is because it encourages the fact it's got no structure. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. From a competitive point of view, there is no point to play any of the other modes. You get nothing from them. The only other modes you should really be playing is the custom modes in the workshop, the warm-up modes, basically. That's it. Why play anything else?
I was gonna add actually just to your point, Sty, that in Apex most streamers consider, or at least a lot of streamers consider the quick play to be better because
Yeah.
they maintain
but
that
that's because
people try they try hard so much in comp that they don't go for fights and they don't go for kills. They play very tactical and loot. So ironically, in Apex, actually, people are like, yeah, comp is resident sleeper. Like let's go in the pubs.
Yeah. Well, you get to see the exciting plays, the flashy plays, the
exactly.
Everybody's watched Shiv. Like it's like, look at this guy. He's just killing everyone. He's got like, how's he got 15 kills and he's only just dropped? It's like, what's going on? Like that is really fun to watch. But again, that's because of the game. Overwatch, I'm sitting here with an Overwatch League top on and all that stuff. But as a spectator thing,
it's terrible.
It is, and for a streamer, like I've said this, and I'm going to say it again. I think you've absolutely got to be crazy to full-time stream Overwatch because the amount of like you need to focus in the game and then respond to your chat. It kills it killed me to do it. I would just have a breakdown. That's not even including like what's going on in the community, or maybe I'm picked the wrong hero. But like it's there's just action, no downtime. Comparing battle royales to Overwatch is never going to be fair because you just run around the map for half the game, not really doing anything. Well, yeah, you're doing stuff, but you've got more chance to interact with your stream as such. But yeah,
yeah, it does come back to that. I want to quickly give. I know I haven't given Salt a lot of chance to talk, and I'm sorry for that, Salt. So I want to just get your opinion on the previous topic as well, because I know you had to go to a quick bathroom break while Skiesti was explaining about how painful it is to kind of just be targeted, and when people are kind of like, oh, just mute chat. I think to add on the mute chat thing, the thing that always sucks about just mute them forehead is it kind of puts the onus on you as the bad guy. Like you are the person who's doing something wrong, so you should mute them and they can carry on, when really the priority is the opposite, right? Like someone's being an asshole, they're the problem and should be dealt with, and not you mute them. But yeah, I mean, you must deal with that kind of stuff too, UnsaltedSalt. So and you've kind of had racial elements to it too, am I correct? Where people kind of they target you for your race.
I've been, what I've noticed actually, I'm a very confrontational person. So if someone says something to me, I will answer back, and that's just how I am. I hate it. I actually wish I was more passive. But everyone every human being, even if they can be, you know, a horrible person, they want to be liked. I find it very interesting how like when someone I had this experience where this girl was really, really, really racist to me. She thought I was Pakistani, so she would say really racist comments about that. And I said to her, like, You're so stupid. I'm Turkish. You can't even get it right." And then few days later, she messaged me actually apologizing. She was like, "Oh yeah, I grew up in this farm away from society. I don't really know races or anything like that. I'm really sorry. My father did it." Like fast forward, like she reached out to me and tried to befriend me. So like, and I've had many experiences where I've I've had arguments with people and we've disliked each other for months on end. And out of nowhere, we have like one good game together and we're all good. Like a year later, we're still talking. You know, they send DMs to me like, "How are you? Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, how are you?" It's really weird. I don't know why, but yeah, like people who end up being horrible to me, it turns around and they genuinely just, you know, end up becoming not a friend, but you know, like acquaintances, which is nice in a way. But yeah, I don't know. I got sidetracked. What was the question again? Sorry.
Oh no, just that's exactly kind of what we were alluding to. Just I was just asking because Skiesti was talking about how people are very say horrible things, for reasons beyond even the game. Sometimes there's people who are gonna flame you for your pick or whatever, but sometimes people just flame you because you're a girl, or perhaps they perceive you to be whatever, whether that's they perceive you to be a girl, they perceive your voice to be too feminine, they perceive you to sound gay, they perceive you to sound black, whatever it is that people want to single you out for. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on it and your experiences.
Um. Well, it's funny because I think. Well, I'm not sure how Skiesti deals with it, but with me, if someone says anything, I instantly jump. Like I said, I'm very confrontational, so I get. I don't really get affected by what they say, but I get other people watching, and they're like, "Oh God, this guy's mental. This guy's a psychopath. Like the way he's oh this." So I get, and then like it'll be clipped and it will get put on YouTube or something like that, and then some people just only see me saying what I'm saying, and so that it completely excludes what the other person said to me first, or like whatever was in the conversation, and then people are like, "Wow, Salt is this. He's this person. He's that type of person," and those comments have affected my mental a lot. Like I'm very strong. I have a very strong mental, and I this is like I'm a very sensitive person at the same time. So I think like last year or like 6 months ago, I actually sat in my room and I cried. I was like due to all the comments, and I said to myself, I'm never gonna let any of these comments ever affect me again. I will not be upset. I'm not gonna cry anymore. Like these people are just not worth my time. And ever since then, I've been good. But it's just yeah, like I can understand like how it would affect someone else, and people need to realize as well. When I was younger, like what Skiesti says as well, how people are just really mean, and she wants people to know like how it affects others. But like when it's a gaming world, some people genuinely just think it's just a game. It's in the game. You say whatever and it stays in the game. Like Call of Duty days, like when I was a young kid, around about 13, 12, I'm not going to lie, I've said some bad stuff around that age. And I never thought of the feelings. I just thought it's the game, like you just say that stuff, as a kid. But as you grow older, you start noticing and realizing your words do affect people, how you act and how you talk to people, mentally affects them. And I think it goes back to the game where it's so boring and no one wants to play it, where you're stuck with this same toxic people and the same teenagers or young people who just don't realize it yet. And Overwatch, I'd say Overwatch is an amazing game, and it's one of those games that attracts all types of people. That's why it's so amazing. Like I've talked to different type of people who love Overwatch, and with Call of Duty or something, you kind of get the same type of person, like the same
Mm-hmm.
personality type of person. But with Overwatch, it's different personalities, and that's what I love about it. But at the same time, that brings issues as well, as where people are sensitive, or some people are just like, are toxic and they don't think it affects people, and they just, it's in the game, it's the game kind of thing.
Yeah. Sorry, Skiesti, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I kind of had something to touch on that. Just like the idea that like, I guess some people will bring like really personal things into the game and use it as like a weapon against you. I remember I did another unranked GM, my second one just a little while ago, so that people would stop saying that I was boosted because I still get that garbage. And for some reason I felt like I had to keep continuously proving people wrong about me. So I did it again. And during that, I remember there ended up being like three really like it's gonna sound weird. There ended up being three really massive bees in my apartment. Like I want to say this size, right? I was terrified. I have like, I get panic attacks and I freaked out. Like I couldn't breathe. It was really bad. I didn't know what to do. And I was in the middle of a game while that was happening. And I had someone a couple weeks ago I was playing with a friend of mine, and I think I was on my main account, and they were like calling me boosted, and they were like, "Oh, you're a hard stuck Masters Mercy player, and you have to like duo to get GM or top 500." And I was just hanging out with my friend, right? And I was like, "You can't say that because you don't know me, and if you did, you'd know that's not true." And then they were like, "Oh, but I do know you. I know that you freaked out over some bees in your apartment." And they made that seem like they somehow knew me because they witnessed like a really personal moment for me that unfortunately happened on stream. But they used that to say, I know who you are. And because I know this thing that happened, I know that you're boosted or like your heart stuck masters or whatever. And I thought that was so unreal to bring something like so personal and use that to try to like back up their like false notions about me. It's so weird the kind of things that Overwatch players will use to try to make this image that they have about you seem like it has some kind of foundation to stand on.
Oh yeah,
Do-
like wow. Sorry, but yeah, I completely agree. People try and it's because they just want to hurt you. They just want to get to you. That's all it is. Like they will say anything and everything to get to you. I could like I'm not gonna mention it, but like yeah, there's been some really weird stuff that people have said to me, and I'm like, what? And like the reason, and my friend knew one of them. He was like, well, why are you guys even saying this? And they're like, oh yeah, if we tell him enough, he's gonna believe it. And I'm just like, are you are you kidding me? Like, bro, like, shut up, you know? But yeah, people just get to you. They'll try and get to you, sorry, by using any means necessary. Like, and I don't know why. What's the point? But yeah, that's what I was
I,
gonna say.
I was just gonna ask, do you guys think that the culture of gaming has shifted enough with how the demographics of gaming have shifted? I was having this conversation with my chat actually just yesterday that gaming obviously is like a not much more popular now than it's ever been.
You
It's
know,
much more mainstream. Go ahead, Sam.
like I think so I remember like you guys won't remember this, but there used to be an application called All CNI you would use to find gaming servers to play on. You didn't just join a queue and off you went. You literally found a server and repeatedly joined that server, and that's where you played your game on. So Counter Strike's the example of this. I would play on the same Counter Strike server over and over and over and over again. There was no, you did not select different servers. And what happened is that server creates a community around itself. So it starts getting forums, it gets all of that associated stuff around it. And then it becomes, I don't want to say less toxic, but it becomes a place where people are kind of known. So in the Overwatch space, I think when you look at the way modern systems are designed, so you are just jumping into a big queue, you're hoping for the best. But now, because we've got a smaller community, players are getting attacked for heroes that they play, but they never really have a chance to sort of, I don't know, maybe show that that's not the case, or there isn't other community like members there ready to go, actually, no, what you're talking about, this is the case, because everybody is still playing in this solo queue mind. I know you guys will group with people every now and again, well, you can only duo in GM, can't you? You can't, which is
Yeah.
stupid as well. You should be able to bloody group together in GM. That'd make it more like arguably a better experience at that level. You know, like at least have triples. But then again, that has got its own issues. But what I'm trying to say is, back in the day, you almost became part of a community. In Overwatch, it's very hard when you start talking about community when everybody, you know, there's no repercussions really to whatever you want to do. So you can do whatever you want to do, really. I mean, yeah, sure, you could get banned, but you just get a new account.
Where you already
Yeah.
have multiple
Well,
accounts.
like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a dick here, but when you got suspended for whatever you said about Doomfist, I bet you just played another account, didn't you? I bet you just like whatever, I'll
Yeah.
fire up another account.
Yeah, I just played another account.
That shouldn't be possible, right? Like, what
Yeah, I
you doing
agree.
is, yeah, but like it is, and this is the thing, it just becomes normalized, and people just do it, you know, like whatever. I mean, like, I don't, you know, like I said, I'm very lucky. I don't get, you know, sexual harassment, racist abuse, or anything like that. But what I would get is that Stylosa, I'm going to be a dick in his game. And I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
God. So that made me play the game in a much different way. You know, there's a very sad period for me where I mean, holy shit. On my channel, if you searched solo queue, this was me attempting to make an Overwatch gameplay series. But it was just a nightmare because it would take me all day to actually get one game that was usable, that didn't have like somebody coming at me or somebody just being outright abusive in the game, or just something really bad happening in the game. And in some cases, it would be the game just completely collapses because people are just not playing together. There wouldn't be, you know, abuse happening in the game, but it would just be a completely bad game to put out there. You know, you upload that to your YouTube channel, people see that as the way that you're playing the game, and then it's like, oh, well, it's fine, it
Mhm.
must be. And and then I sat there thinking, this is, I, I'm making content on the game. And by the way, this is like 2017. You know, this was a long time ago. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm making content on the game, but actually, straight up playing the game and using that as VOD content, it doesn't really work unless you want to sit there and stream it for hours and hours, because then, like, you know, you get the experience of your chat and all of that. But it's like a singular thing, like as a VOD, it's like, this is a gameplay, it's Overwatch comp, we're going to get ourselves to GM or whatever, you know. And even on the topic of being called boosted, so I've been called boosted quite a lot. And it's funny, it's like, well, who's boosting me? I'm boosting myself. I guess I am a boosted YouTuber, right? It's like, what? Now, admittedly, I'm nowhere near as good as I used to be, but I remember I did actually. I put a series together of. It was a new account, and I placed somewhere in plat, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get this to GM to show people that I am not boosted, and I will just get to GM. Granted, I just like one trick soldier, but I got to GM in that season. Would have been like season 6 or 7 or whatever, and I was like, there you go. How am I boosted? I'm clearly not boosted, you know. So you do get those arguments, and those things you do have to defend yourself from, but it just the issue we've got is we put ourselves out there, so it is heavily amplified. The general player, yeah, they will deal with dickheads in chat and all of that stuff, but they don't have the additional stuff. Like what strikes me, Salt, was you talking about things like Reddit having an effect on you. Well, I actually call that becoming Reddit famous, and it's so funny to me because it happened. It used to happen all the time, and we used to monitor. This is completely the path to madness. I recommend you don't do this, but I would monitor the usage of Stylosa everywhere. So I'm tracking this with Google. So every time Stylosa was used, I'm like, what are they talking about? Like, what's going on? Well, of course, this is bad news because this is the official forums, which are terrible for Overwatch. It would be Reddit, and it would be people making things up. And I'm like, that is not true. And for a while, I'd go out there and be like, hey, you're talking shit. And I'd be replying to on Reddit, well, that's bad, because then you're just giving them more ammunition because you've done what they wanted you to do.
Mhm.
They want you to interact with them. And then they come at you again, and you're like, I don't know what's going on here. I mean, there was a whole thing with Mercy. In a video, I said something along the lines of mass res is terrible. Like, this was me getting really frustrated. I remember Temple of Anubis. Mercy's just hiding in the spawn and then just rezzing everybody. And it was so frustrating. And I probably, again, got overly frustrated with this. So I'm out there making videos like, what are you doing, Blizzard? Get rid of mass res. It's so bad. That made a lot of the community then go after me. And it made, actually, memes started being made then of me talking about, you know, Mercy and other stuff. And I'm like, none of this happened, but you've got to deal with it. And it's difficult to deal with. You know, a lot of people will just say, grow thick skin. It's like, sure, you can, but you always see the negative and the bad comments when they're on your content. You know, I'll sit there and look at my videos and go, well, that's got 4,000 likes and 50 dislikes. Why are these videos disliked? Have they just disliked it because it's me? Have they disliked it because it's on a topic they don't care about? Have they disliked it because I don't know? You know what I mean? It's like it's crazy. So it does affect you. So there is no cure for this, I'm afraid. It's something
Yeah,
you just have to deal with, which isn't the right answer either.
No, I mean, everyone obviously on this call can completely, and I know, sympathize and understand on a deep spiritual level what it's like to just have people hate on you, and the inherent nature of being a content creator is that you do focus on the negatives. I can already imagine right now there's someone in chat or someone listening at some point in the future who's going to be like, oh, well, you know, why streamers whining about streamer problems? Because I remember a while back on Twitter, I put a tweet out that was like, hey guys, you know, just remember that, you know, the favorite streamer you're watching, they're a human being, so just try and show them human empathy. That was the tweet, right? Just show streamers human empathy. And some guy replied, I remember this all the time, I find it hilarious. Some guy replied and he was like, well, you know, gladiators never got to turn to the crowd and say, hey guys, I'm having a rough day, so why don't you ease it up? And I was like, am I now being compared to a Roman slave battling to the death? Like, I'm just asking for human empathy, my man. I'm not asking you to like throw a lion in the pit, but yeah, I think people struggle with the concept of basic human empathy. So
Well, I think what they struggle with is everybody thinks our job is easy, and unfortunately, it isn't, because it's not just one job. Like, you're a video editor, you're a live performer, you're a bloody audio engineer, you're a social media manager, you're a graphic design artist, you're a brand specialist. You've got about 10 different jobs, and then on top of that, you just get, you know, people maybe not being nice to you, which isn't great. When I say maybe, they're definitely, but it will always affect you. This is the thing; it will always affect you. I think, coming back to the topic of the way Overwatch deals with it in the game, um, sometimes it's a societal problem, which is okay, but also it needs to be raised, and it's right that we're raising it. It's right that it's spoke about, because no one should act like that. And when you're inside, you know, this is a Blizzard product. They should be policing it better. They should be more proactive in the way they deal with it. And then you can even extend that to things like the amount of hacking that seems to be going on in Overwatch now, and all of that stuff. I mean, then you can even go off on tangents like the recent Pride stuff for Blizzard was baffling to me. I mean, I looked at that and I'm like, they've got a rainbow avatar, and I'm literally like this. I'm looking at Apex, I'm looking at Valorant, I'm like, then I'm looking at Overwatch, and I'm like, isn't this supposed to be championing diversity? You know, so there's all weird things like that which I look at and I'm like, why are they doing this? It's so weird.
Fareeha, can I get your thoughts on it? Sorry, Skiesti, just wanted to get Fareeha's thoughts, because Fareeha was your expression was one that was told a lot.
Every time I've gotten the chance to go to Blizzard HQ, I've brought up like, hey, you know, it'd be really, really cool if we had like a challenge around Pride Month, and you know, we made it a thing about celebrating the side of the community, because there's a big portion of Overwatch fans who are allies and who identify as part of, you know, LGBTQIA, and it would be a really, really cool thing. And then they told me like, yeah, we'll talk about it, and we'll try to get that in motion. And then they gave us rainbow. So that was just like, man, I get that you have to cater to a lot of overseas markets where, you know, this kind of thing isn't okay, and you'd probably lose a
No,
lot of investor money, but like, man,
I know, but that's bollocks. So that shouldn't be the case. And even if that
yeah,
is the case, then they can just adapt the version for their region.
yeah,
And I don't even
exactly.
agree with that either. In fact, there is an article from one of the cinematic designers about Overwatch 2. It's been heavily censored in Russia for obvious reasons, right? There's going to be certain interactions shown in animated shorts, which can't be shown in Russia, so they will be changed. So they do that. Honestly,
Yeah.
I just think it's not good enough what they did with that. It's really not good enough.
Yeah, that was really sucky.
Skiesti, you had something to add. Sorry, and I interrupted
Oh
you.
yeah. One thing that I just wanted to touch on regarding like the whole like streamer problems kind of thing. I think it's not even just like streamer problems. Like whenever I mention this thing on stream, I get so many people sharing like stories and experiences about like how they're treated in ranked. So like this is something that happens to ladder play, like not even just streamers, but just people who play competitive, just all like up and down the ranks. It's something that it just happens throughout the entire thing. I get people from so many different ranks that, obviously don't stream that are telling me like they got treated this way because, they sound like this, or because of their gender, or because of their hero, or all these other things. It's not just like I don't think we can chalk it up to just saying, oh, it's a streamer problem, and oh, these guys are like, obviously we are content creators and we are streamers on like this podcast right now that we're talking, to each other. But it's so important to recognize that it's not just limited to us, but it extends so
Hmm.
far out to other people.
No, absolutely. I was just gonna add on top of that, it kind of building up on what you guys have said. It's this weird dichotomy where Overwatch is ostensibly a game with the main poster hero is
Yeah.
gay, and yet we have struggles to even represent them properly when it comes to Pride Month or any recognition of the community or events like Fareeha suggested. And going back all the way to stuff that we mentioned right at the start of the podcast about some things aren't even censored in chat, or Salt gets banned for fisting himself. But I know people have said much worse things to me, and I just wanted to just bring it sort of the last philosophical question that I asked, and then we'll kind of start wrapping up because I know I've taken a lot of you guys' time. I know some of you probably have to go and stuff, but yeah, do you think gaming has kind of shifted with the way its demographics have shifted? I kind of started alluding to this question earlier, but like again, ostensibly Overwatch is the most diverse game ever, or it has appealed to one of the most broadest audiences ever, and yet we kind of struggle with these issues still. And there's another theme that always crops up is trash talk, right? Like I see in Overwatch League this gets brought up a lot where people are like, we want more trash talk, we want more like spicy storylines. And yet on the flip side, we've kind of alluded to a lot of the issues of when stuff gets personal, when people are getting at you, even for non-streamers, as Skiesti kind of brought up, even when it comes to like heroes. So I'm going to throw it to Salt. Where do you, like, you're a guy who likes to banter, right? You like to joke around with your friends. Like, what is acceptable banter? What is unacceptable banter? And do you think like does gaming culture need to shift? Because in a way, we've kind of come from a background where and people always bring up, you should have been in CSGO lobbies in my day when, people were telling each other to do this and that.
Well, it's interesting. People find what is acceptable and unacceptable by what society they were brought up in. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, actually, this is interesting to say. Around about 5 years ago, I think this is a Anyway, 5 years ago on Twitch, I think actually the F word was used a lot, like it was normalized. And what I'm trying to say is, for me personally, I feel like racism, homophobia, like anything along the lines, like like being sexist shouldn't be allowed. But when I don't know, when I'm with my pals and it's my best friend that I've known for life, and he happens to be Jamaican, and we've grown up in school. But this isn't to do with gaming or anything, but he will say something about, how I look. And it's just what I've grown up with. But with the gaming demographic and how people are nowadays, I feel like it has changed, and it has changed for the better. Because I don't know, it's weird to say, because there's a difference between someone telling you something online than to when someone's saying you something to your face. It's really weird, because I'm not sure if anyone's experienced racism online and in person, but there's something that is very, I don't know, it hits you here when it's in person. It's like, wow, they actually hate me for what I look like. But then when it's online, it's like, yeah, they're just trying to get to me, like, whatever, man. Like, do one, But I feel like everyone is more sensitive, but I'm glad it's that way, and and it should be that way, because you don't know what's going on in someone's life. Like, for example, I'm majority toxic because when I don't win a game, or if there's someone doing something which, annoys me, like, they're playing an off meta hero, and I'll mention it. But I've realized, like, everyone's going through something. So no matter what you say, even if it's about their hero, they are going through something. Like, there was this one game where some guy, he's like 16 or 17, and he already has a kid, and he's going through a lot of trouble, and he's like, I was actually having this like deep discussion with him. But like prior to that, I was really annoyed with him with how he played. But I just ignored it, and I just started opening conversation with him. I was like, wow, imagine if I flame this guy who's already mentally down. So like, I think bantering your friends, like, I banter with J3. I say, he's 5'6", his genetics failed, he's got no hair, bald and all that stuff. Like, it's just banter, but like, I think there is a line, and people need to know it and not cross it. In my opinion, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think intent is everything, man. Like if you go up to someone, and you're like, "Man, you stupid." Like that's not gonna sting. But if someone like some stranger yells into the mic like, "You are so stupid." Like that's gonna hurt a little bit more. And it's the same thing with like, more loaded words and things that, could be taken in a misconstrued way. So, yeah, but I agree in what you say that things are kind of getting better because I don't know with the stuff that Healthy Gamer's doing and with the stuff that that's just circulating on the internet. I think there's more of an emphasis being placed on emotional intelligence and how to like treat other people. So it's getting better.
Do you agree with that sentiment, Skiesti, Stylosa?
Yeah, I do agree that it's definitely getting better. We're, not standing for things that like people used to say, um, that, like really awful things. And even now, like people still say awful things, but it feels like you at least have the opportunity to say something for yourself. Like usually when things are directed at me, I try to stand up for myself because I I care about myself and I respect myself enough to stand up for myself. And I know that that's definitely hard for some people who feel like they can't say anything, but I also feel like there's starting to be more people even in games where if they see something that's happening that they know is wrong or someone's being really awful to someone else, there are people that will say something. And, I've had people say like the, you know, harsh like R words or something like that on stream, and I'll be like, people will say like, "Hey, don't say that. Like that's not okay." And I get people like when I tell people that, I get people in my chat like thanking me for saying something because they're like, even though they might not think much about saying the word, like it does affect people, and people do appreciate when other people, even if like they're not directly the person that it's being said to, they appreciate someone standing up for like people who feel like they can't say anything or people that are just being, attacked. And I think we are starting to do a better job, like a lot of people in saying something rather than just letting it happen.
Sty?
Yeah, no, I mean the thing is, it's raising the issue, right? It's having conversations and dialogues about this, which helps. It's all like the issue with gaming as a whole is when you like if you've been out at work and you come back and you want to just play a game, maybe you want to play it for fun, and then suddenly you go into a game and somebody's attacking you for something. That's not great. Obviously, with a competitive angle, that exacerbates that issue. But I'm never going to be able to comment on anything to do with racism or anything like that. I've never experienced that in my life. I mean, I've seen it happen, and when I've seen it happen, I've called it out. But I'm not. I can never really. I can't relate to that. But that still doesn't mean that it can't be spoken about, and people have to be, put right when they are using it because they should not be doing it. I think like more recently, as we all seen, well, especially British media seen with what happened after the World Cup, it's crazy. Like to think that it is still that prevalent in the society is shocking. It's absolutely shocking. You know, I so it's just something which I mean, it's unfortunately always going to be an issue in some way, but the fact that now it is you can speak about this in a more open environment and try and help people and educate them and say, "Hey, man, that's not okay." Because I mean, like with what Salt said, yeah, between friends, okay, it's banter, but even then, it can get a bit like I'm talking when it's like racially charged banter, not calling J3 bald. I mean, I think on Twitter, he said something like, "I'm going bald when Overwatch 2 will be out by then," and I was like, "What? It'll be out next week." So I mean,
Yeah.
like that's banter, but not if it's there's a line, isn't there? And everyone's got their own line. And I mean, it's obvious if you're playing a game of Overwatch and someone launches into the microphone and starts attacking you for sexuality, for race, or anything like that, that is absolutely ridiculous. It's like, what's going on there? They should be removed from the game. They shouldn't be in the game. Why are they in the game? Why are they doing it in the game? And if they are doing it in the game, it should be the only time they ever do it to you in the game, because then they should be removed. That's it. But how do you do that?
Yeah, the sort of final thing I want to add on top is that the funny thing about gaming is that it's one of the few spheres of life where you might be interacting with like 13-year-olds and like 50-year-olds in the same lobby. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like sometimes you have to take with a pinch of salt that this is probably an actual literal child who, like, Salt gave the example earlier where he was like, when I was a kid, I'd say all kinds of stupid shit, and I doubt there's a person listening to this who hasn't been young and said stupid things or thought stupid things and held really bigoted, stupid beliefs. And to some extent, we have to kind of manage that as well as the adults in the room, both literally and metaphorically, I guess, is, have conversations and understand that people are not the worst things they said, but trying to reach out and show people and say, like, okay, guys, okay, you're 14, you said that thing. This is why you shouldn't say that thing, bro. This is a real person you're talking to. Don't do that. And even people older, it doesn't have to be reduced to 14-year-olds either. I think people, me personally, I'd like to see a bit more forgiveness in the world and openness to people kind of understanding more. But yeah, I kind of want to. I know I've taken a lot of you guys' time, so I want to kind of bring it to concluding thoughts. I know Salt's got to go as well, so I'm going to throw it to Salt first. Salt, two kind of questions you can choose to answer, whichever one you want. One, what would you want to say as like your sort of final conclusatory thoughts to the community? Like, what would you say to the community, or what do you kind of want to see for Overwatch 2 in regards to everything we've spoken about? Like, what would you want to see? Like, okay, do this, Blizzard, or do that.
Also, the community is like, I don't know, there are some amazing people in this community, but it's just like, I don't know, but it's just stop, man. It's just weird. That's all I gotta say, bro. Stop, because like, I'm gonna go off speaking about myself again, but
I welcome it. Bring it in, man.
When I was 18, 17, I didn't touch a game of my life. I was out in the world doing stupid stuff. And I've got 16, 17, 18-year-olds saying this weird stuff to me. I'm just thinking, bro, you are so different, aren't you? Like, it's crazy to me how different people are. I'm just like, my honest opinion, don't follow other people. Do what you truly think is right. And don't do that sheep mentality, because, I don't know, I just feel like a lot of people follow other people and say a lot of stupid shit and go along with it just because other people are saying it. So yeah, that's pretty much what I gotta say. But yeah, for Overwatch 2, I'd like to see PvE, like maybe a Diablo type of system, but also for PvP. I want it to stay 6v6. But that's all I gotta say. Yeah, thank you.
No, fair enough. Skiesti, how about you? Both same questions.
Yeah, so I kind of obviously echo the sentiment of like, just stop. Like, you don't know the life of like, whoever the person is behind like the player that you get in your game. Like, yeah, sure, you could not like their hero pick or you could not like how they play, but like, hey, I guess that's why there's the avoid his teammate function. You don't have to make it personal. You don't have to like harass other people. Like there's so many other options that you can do other than trying to verbally abuse somebody else. And I don't know. It's kind of like I guess what Salt was saying earlier, about people being like more, I guess the word he used was sensitive, and like that's not a bad thing. We should care. Being sensitive isn't a bad thing. And I'm honestly kind of even hesitant to like use the word sensitive because it already implies like it implies that that's a bad thing because people are like, "Oh, you're such a snowflake." Well, no, wanting to be treated like a human being is not like being a snowflake or being like sensitive in a bad way. We should want change and we should, discourage the kind of behavior that we see in the Overwatch community, whether it's like online or on Twitter, between our friend groups. Like, I just, it would be nice to see people just not be weird to other people, just treat them like humans, and if you don't like someone, like, okay, but let them do their thing and mind your own business as long as you're not hurting anyone and like as long as the person is like if it's in game, it's like as long as they're genuinely trying, then like you don't need to take it to such an extreme kind of level. And I guess for Overwatch 2, I'd just like to see some kind of like further system implemented in going to help out, streamers and other people that like are targeted really badly by the community just to, make it much less of a strain on like their own health.
Yeah, well said. Fareeha?
I echo both your sentiments. I think overall like the community's made up of a lot of really really amazing cool people, and I think I guess what I have to say gets a little bit metaphorical, but I feel like a lot of players who contribute to this like cycle of just like meanness and toxicity and targeted harassment, like what they need to do is just like really stop trying to set a higher bar for other people, stop trying to raise that bar higher and make it impossible for streamers or whoever they run into in their games, and maybe try to just like sit with themselves a little bit and do some stretches, try to jump over their own bar at the end of the day, just try to be a little bit better than they were yesterday, whatever that might look like. So maybe going out getting some fresh air if they're feeling really upset, or like if they're having a rough day of games, just like sitting down, maybe meditating a little bit. But it's just like in a crude way, I'm just saying do better, man. But it's like everybody has the capacity to, and I believe in y'all.
Heart. Very nice, very kind. Stylosa?
I mean, I think the Overwatch community is extremely diverse, and you have to like if you go back and you look at the FPS space before Overwatch, okay, sure, you could say Team Fortress 2 maybe, but Overwatch is a game that opened up the FPS genre to people who would simply never play FPS games in the past. I mean, Counter-Strike, for as good as it is, or games of that ilk, it's a very specific audience which picks that game up. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Overwatch opened it to everybody. It was like, look at this. We've designed a game with characters that target pretty much well, not target, but you can relate to these characters. A lot of different people can relate to them. And the game needs to build more on that, really. And it needs to push forward with that with Overwatch 2. And in terms of what they do with Overwatch 2 community development, well, I mean, they just need to do better. They just need to do everything. Like, there are some things which they've done okay, but everything needs to be ramped up. I just think, I don't know, like, again, like, this just all comes back to what I honestly believe is a massive gamble for Overwatch 2. And is it going to pay off? I don't know. Because, like, we have to remember we are at the end of the Overwatch lifespan. And as much as we want things to change now with the game, it's very unlikely it will until Overwatch 2 comes out. And then it will be a case of, are things changing fast enough? And how long can people wait if things don't change fast enough?
Yeah. very wisely spoken. Kind of why I wanted Stylosa here, because he knows, man. He
No,
knows.
how old are you guys? Right? What's your age? I know I'm old as shit. That's the problem.
I'm 25.
22 here.
I'm turning 22 in August.
I'm gonna be mysterious and say late 20s.
Well, I'm considerably older. Hey, no, I remember I was, Jesus Christ, I was 27, 28 when Overwatch came out. Good God. Yeah, but no, I think this has been a really good debate. There's a lot of like there are a lot of issues in the game that do need sorting. I think there are issues that are not specific to Overwatch, that are specific to a lot of different games. Well, that are, it's not just an Overwatch only problem, it's problems for a bunch of other games as well. But that's not to say they don't need to be spoken about, and they really do. So I'm glad this happened. It's good.
No, yeah, and I just kind of, my thoughts are going to be again channeling a bit of what you've all said. I'm also going to be a bit metaphorical, like Fareeha said, in a little bit. People, I'm going to sound like a bit of a head in the clouds tree hugger, but I was actually, before this podcast started, I was having a little walk outside, enjoying the sunshine, the beautiful British summer that will probably be gone tomorrow. And I was like thinking, okay, what are the things we want to bring up? What are the things we want to talk about? How do we solve toxicity? And I was just walking by, and there's like a young father playing with his children, and his daughter just, was like, Daddy, like, she gave him a little football, and she's like, I want you to kick this into the universe, Daddy. Like, I want you to kick this so high that it goes into another planet. And he was like, oh my, okay, I guess I can try that. All right, let's just make sure nobody's around. And it was just like a really nice human moment. It's just a reminder to me, like, just get the fuck outside, guys. Like, if you're ever like sitting in your game and you're just like molding over someone's fucking hero pick or who you think they are, just go outside. Just go outside and realize that the real world exists.
There's an element of that, yeah. I mean, that is like, you can't just, I mean, doing the same thing over and over again is a definition of madness, isn't it? You wouldn't just carry on like, I've had such a bad game, I'm just going to play another game. Oh, it's been bad, I'll have another game and another game and another game. You're not going to keep doing that. The problem is Overwatch kind of does make you do that sometimes.
Yeah, it's easy to fall into all these traps. I think we'd all be lying if we said sometimes we didn't behave poorly, like we didn't get angry, we didn't say stuff that were like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. That was a bit unnecessary. Like why was I so mad? It was just a game. So I think the same message that I always say, human empathy, guys, human empathy. Like we're not gladiators fighting to the death, just human empathy. Just remember there's another person there. Just be kind if you can and understand when others are having a bad day and cut them some slack. Yeah, that's my message. So, and Overwatch 2, please don't flop. That's my message.
Please don't flop. Please.
We're literally, please. But yeah, any other thoughts, guys, before I send it over? Really thank you so much for all you for joining me. For those in Twitch chat, all these guys' socials are in a command with their names. So if you put exclamation mark and then their name that you see underneath them, brings up a list of all their socials. And again, those of you who listen to this on YouTube and podcast services in the future, underneath in the description there will be all these guys' socials. So please show them love. Thank them for coming here and subscribe, like, follow, all the things. And yeah, thank you guys for joining me. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much for talking about all this. That was incredibly validating and just nice.
Yeah, I mean, SVB, thank you for being interested in like talking about this and starting a discussion. And everyone, thank you for agreeing to be here and wanting to be part of this and kind of open up this conversation.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Go touch some grass, as chat was saying, and yeah, have a good one, guys. Peace out.